Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be doing a video today on myself and Dean's predictions for cannabis in 2023. We've got some really cool things for you guys lined up, so hopefully you guys enjoy. And let's go jump in. What do you rate is going to happen next year for Canada? I'm sure you've got some pretty interesting insights.
So 2023 is around the corner. We've made it through another year of cannabis in South Africa with very little happening. So, promises were made.
Bummer of a year, actually.
Yeah, it's felt like every year post decriminalization, there's just been like more of a stagnation. Obviously, there was also like COVID-19, which I think, I sometimes think to myself, like, how big of a priority is cannabis to the government when you can't even keep the power on in South Africa? We're dealing with like the worst load shedding we've ever had. According to Eskom Push's little rap that I saw, it's like 200% worse than last year. So like, what is 2023 going to bring for indoor growers? I would say challenges. So I'm finding the most challenges I've ever faced right now with my personal home grow cultivation. It's stage 6. We're stressing out constantly. So I think indoor growing, I think indoor growing on the home level is going to present a set of new challenges. It just basically makes it more expensive to get into, unfortunately. But, once I think they will see a big push towards a lot of people sort of wanting to go off grid if they can afford it, or saving towards going off grid. It's something that I would personally like to do in the space. So I think on the home level, challenges indoors, we'll obviously continue to cultivate as much as we can in the couple of months we have in the summer period, so that we can potentially make it through without. But I think on the legislation side, promises were made by the president that they would start looking at it. There's been some movement, but I feel not really that much. So I think another year, more difficulties, more expensive, power's out. I think maybe the government's finally going to wake up to that there's cash to be made here on their level, and hopefully start to pump a little bit of, if you look at the legal states in America, they made like millions of dollars in tax revenue overnight. You can just Google that to see it. Anyone has that information. You don't need like an intergovernmental study to see that there's money to be made here.
And it's not like people are devil's reefer and going absolutely crazy and doing all sorts of heinous things to family members and stuff like that. All the propaganda that they do, if cannabis is legal, the drug dealers and stuff are going to be out of control. And so it's like a calm and peaceful market. Though, actually, to be fair, I did watch a Vice documentary the other night about how the black market for cannabis in Cali is bigger, 3 times bigger now than the legal market, or some. Don't quote me on that.
And I also see some crazy stuff related to like these like illegal farms where people are like getting forced to live in there in Cali. So the illegal industry but it's difficult.
It's not a legal industry. Well, it's a legal industry, but it's over-regulated, and it's only geared at the guys that have the millions and billions to pay for all that compliance. They all want to be legal. And it's all the same product at the end of the day that's reaching the shelves. Like, people are still smoking wherever it comes from. They're not rolling over and dying. Most of the time they're fine. It's just they've over-regulated because they don't want to let go of that control. And because once they do, there's no going back. There's no way they'd make it legal and then make it not legal. Like, that would be impossible. It's already
it's already happened once.
Do
it again.
They already can't keep up with policing cannabis. It's it's the biggest fucking waste of time. And I think
in South Africa, that's a big case as well. There's still this sort of push towards the government wanting to heavily police plant counts, rulers. We don't have the manpower to do that. We can't even keep the power on or keep like our train tracks safe to get like transport around. How are you going to police like everyone who wants to cultivate? I think like in the South African landscape, we have legacy farmers. We have an industry that's already reliant on it. And I think if they were to push for a market to take place in South Africa, the same as what Jeff was saying on our previous episode, like a market could open up the possibility for us to really make something of this industry. But like, we can't survive much longer or gain investment or keep this keep the industry going in the way that it currently is. There's too much gray area. There's like too much wild westing. There's like there's policing, but it's like who's getting policed? Like it's like, there's just too many other issues within South Africa, I personally feel, to sort of
messy.
Heavily regulated. It's a messy space. You can't, everything's like, you don't even, like, people don't really know what they're doing. People are getting arrested. People aren't getting arrested. People are getting pulled over and their weed's still getting taken away from them. Like, what is happening?
It's like, quite funny. Like 2 years ago, we wanted to jump into the cannabis space, and it was such a sexy space to be in, like such a good, exciting, revolutionary, wow, the government's just made cannabis growing legal in the home space. It was like everyone was enamored with it. Now you look at the cannabis space and you're like, government's actually done jack shit since then. There's more proposed laws which are like absolutely ridiculous. Everyone's saturated around this, like, like the club models, the section 12 or the
section
21 stuff. It's just all these like weird loopholes. It got weird quick. Like it wasn't like this, like everyone's going to be irie and there's going to be dispensaries opening up. It just got weird and technical and quite crazy. And I think with like what you said, going on what you were saying with the electricity problems, the train tracks, all the strikes and stuff like that, is it going to be their number one priority?
Still not. No.
No.
I don't think it's ever. I don't think.
They
I
just
think
give up.
They should just
like plant, they're just going to be like, can't win.
Yeah, because the Fields of Green is going back to court. They want legalization. We want a recreational or adult use industry within South Africa. So I think if the government can't put the effort into it, why not? Listen to people who have come up with valuable plans. I mean, the Fields of Green still has a powerful manifesto that's relevant with the South African landscape. Why not, instead of like spending government resources so heavily, into like people who don't even know what's going on, and trying to get like a private medical company to okay and not okay. Like it doesn't really make sense. It's just selling it off to the highest bidder, and it's going to create a Cali styled environment. Like the black market is more professional than ever. Like, the stuff that you're seeing coming out in the black market is insane. So like South Africa's on that world-class level. It's just like either the black market continues to grow, which it is going to, and then the government gets nothing, or they could just have a piece of that pie so easily. And you can look at other countries around the world to see that it's not going to destroy society. It's not going to be like burning bridges and like, it's devil's worship and stuff. It's just normal people who like a plant that's good for you. And
but that's the thing, dude. You think the governments know what's cooking, and then like and then you see Bali do a move where they ban premarital sex for like anyone anyone in Bali, like, and it's just like, it's like, how can you do that in 2022?
That will kill tourism, But
that's
like,
the thing, and it's like, and it's near impossible to police, because like, how are they going to prove this? And what are you going to have, like a camera in your bedrooms, and you can't?
You're going to need like a marriage certificate to travel there if it's like a male and a female, Like,
and I'm just thinking, like, they never going to legalize cannabis if they can't even get past past a basic sort of, I don't know, basic sort of things that the first world countries are way ahead of. Like that's been all those sort of very old fashioned rules and things, those are long gone in first world countries. So yeah, like, you see the governments don't always know what's cooking.
Definitely not.
Cyril did promise that 130,000 jobs in Feb last year, and he's going to have to say something, attest to something of that. He's probably going to do one of these things like, oh, look at all these medical facilities hiring,
But what if Cyril's not around? Like, Cyril's caught in the biggest scandal, money hidden in couches, like carte blanche on the case. Like if Cyril's no longer the man on top, there's a whole reshuffle of leadership. Once again, everything's kicked back because like no one can keep like in the like away from scandals and corruption. So like it kind of just like pushes it down further and further down the agenda. But I suppose also, if like the community keeps pushing for events, and
as you guys can see, we can easily be pretty negative on it. But like, yeah, I can see where you're going with that, because I was just thinking the same thing.
It's up to us too to professionalize ourselves and to keep, and that's also why, once again, I kind of like some of the things that the people are doing within the industry. People are taking matters into their own hands and trying to create movements and trying to create manifestos and trying to create. So like, I think there's a lot of negative points on there are a lot of negative points, but that I'm not negative. I mean, I'm still fully confident this industry can become something massive, and that's why it's important to talk about these points, because these are all the challenges that we're currently facing. Like, we need these things, and someone needs to do them, and it's the government who has to. But like, we also need to continue to make our voices heard as citizens. Like, there was some cool movements, there was the mass gathering, which I thought was relatively successful. But I mean, at Cape Town, I would have expected to see thousands of people there, not a couple hundred, because like there's thousands of people.
And nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
But
like, those kinds of things are still important, and like, I think going to court, if people have the finances, is going to be the only way that this is going to get solved. So like, a lot relies on the Fields of Greens trial of the plant too. A lot relies on the Hayes Court appeals.
Yeah.
A lot applies on the labor. There was there was another big court case happening in labor. Like, all of those things, I think it's going to be the courts that decide this.
It's a difficult time, but I'm going to jump in with my formal prediction, so you guys can quote me on this come 1 year's time from now or whatnot. But I do believe that we're going to see more clubs opening up. We're going to see more Section 21s. We're going to see more cannabis in the hands of people through more like reputable sources, as opposed to just like parking lot trades and this and that. I think it's going to be more like, however they're operating the clubs, I think it's going to come from, we're going to see more and more of that, which is going to be a good thing, because the more and more of that we see in a controlled and self-regulated space, that's not a disaster and that's not actually causing any harm. I think that's going to lead to more people trusting it. And, you're actually going to end up seeing politicians at these clubs and things like that enjoying themselves and enjoying cannabis. So yeah, it's a good trend. I also think there's going to be obviously the concentrates and extracts. You can see we obviously been pushing that quite a bit from our side, but I think there's going to be a massive open up on that. I also think that like a little bit on the health side of cannabis, I think people are going to maybe move away from, I suppose in the extract space, but I think they're going to become a little bit more particular with regards to getting like particles and things like that in the lungs and stuff like that, as as more, they're going to go more for like extracts where there isn't like plant material being like actually combusted. It's going to be more like vaporized and things like that. So I kind of think that's where that's basically the predictions. I don't think there'll be massive legalization, unfortunately. I think maybe some countries around Thailand and stuff might legalize. But anyway, related to South Africa, that's my bet. Where are you leaning, Dean?
So I heavily agree on the extract sides of things. I think we're going to see a lot of people. There's already been a massive push in that direction from us and just from the market. We look at trends the whole time. So I'm really excited about that. Also, personally as an extractor, getting a bit of sort of recognition within this year as the brand, I think we can continue to see more in that direction. I think we're also going to see some interesting grow innovation, like, learnings for us in this year. There was a lot of automation, a lot of integration, starting to use data more heavily. So I think we're going to start to sort of see bigger trends towards data, health data, like Andy was saying, with people wanting to get particles, but also grow data, the way to professionalize it, farming is highly challenging, and cannabis farming is a way of farming. So just professionalizing ourselves as a whole in the grow space, I think we're going to see way more commercial farms coming online. If that's a positive or negative thing right now, in the current format, I'm not sure. I think we're going to continue to see the challenges with relation to sort of the commercial industry dumping into the black market, which is then causing, an upset in the balance, as it currently is. But I also don't think we'll see legalization, but I think we'll continue to see a professionalization. The market has changed since, I think it's been like 4 years now, September 2018, nearly that's quite a long time, so I think we'll continue just to see the professional get more professional, and the unprofessional realize that this is a professional industry. Either up your game or die out. And if all of that professionalization can come across in the production side, in the the club scene, in the Section 21s, then hopefully, like Andy also said, we'll get to see something. But besides that, I think we'll also continue to see that people need to, that home growing is still massive, and there's still going to be a huge market for it. And if you're interested in this industry and you want to learn, there are multiple ways to get involved, either growing yourself just to start to learn about the plant, which is beautiful, or just continue to try and get the correct information. So I also hope to see far more sort of information and the correct information being shared next year. And hopefully more people start to create a bit of content as well. We saw one or two cool players come online this year. So I hope we see a few more next year as well. And that's kind of what I would predict to see, because it is still a fun space. It's still professional, and we will get there eventually. It's just about staying positive, I suppose, in a difficult country to stay positive in.
So to the guys watching at home, big cheers to 2023. Make sure you let us know your thoughts about 2023 and cannabis space in the comments below. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Cheers, guys.
Peace, guys.